I'm here for the Met fan today. I'm here to calm everybody down. The MLB offseason has moved at a snail's pace so far this year. We've not had major signings. 85% of the free agent market is still available. Only 8 or 9 teams have really made significant moves to upgrade their roster so far in this offseason. A lot of teams are waiting. In this video, though, I'm going to break down with the Met fan what the latest update is regarding who the Mets are interested in, short-term deals, long-term deals, what David Stearns wants to tell Mets fans. The vice president of baseball operations of the New York Mets had something to say. I want to get into that as well. And John Heyman's report on the Mets possibly replacing Kodai Senga with Tatsuya Imai from Japan. A little swap by trading Senga. I'm going to tell you if I like that idea or if I don't like that idea. We're going to start this one today, though, obviously, with the Kodai Senga news, because that's probably the biggest news of the day for the New York Met fan. And guys, calm down. We're going to get there. Share, like, subscribe this. Keep up with the Met content this year. We're going to be going hard in the paint with all the Met content all the time. Rumors, talking about firings. Everybody wants Stearns fired. We're going to get into all of that stuff as spring training approaches in less than 3 months. We're right there, guys. So let's get into the Kodai Senga news that came out today. Going to use Fireside Mets as a source today because they have the stuff. They listen to all the stuff when it comes to Met news. Here we go. Mets are exploring a bold path to land MPB ace Tatsuya Imai, including the possibility of moving Kodai Senga to an open roster spot, to open up a roster spot to reset the strategy. That comes from a Japanese article that I cannot read because I don't speak or read Japanese, but this is a trusted source, and it is coming from a source where the New York Mets have been interested this offseason in moving on from Kodai Senga. Why do the Mets want to move on from Kodai Senga? So we're going to talk about what Kodai Senga's career has been so far with the New York Mets. Right? Overwhelming and also successful, if that makes any sense, because 2023, the New York Mets signed Kodai Senga to a 5-year deal at $15 million per season. It's a steal right now, okay? 23, comes in all-star, 29 starts with the New York Mets, pitches to a 2.98 ERA. He was tremendous with the New York Mets that year. The ace of the staff. We didn't think we were getting that much Kodai Senga in 2023. He performed very well. 24, not the good one, right? He makes one start all season until he comes back in the postseason, pitches a few innings for us. But that year, it's just a complete wash. It happens, unfortunately, for Senga. The following year, last year, 2025, when the Mets were in need of much pitching help, Kodai Senga wasn't pitching that badly to start the season. Had a 3 ERA throughout the entire season, of course. When he came back in the second half after the Pete Alonso missed throw that caused Kodai Senga's hamstring to pull, yes, you could blame Pete Alonso. You could blame Kodai Senga for being very fragile. You don't think somebody's hamstring should pull on that kind of thing, but Kodai Senga seems to have these wear and tears along with his body. But again, still makes 22 starts for Kodai Senga. That's not bad. So when I look at a guy like Kodai Senga, right, I'm looking at a guy who I think still has a lot of value around the league. All right, if you're getting Kodai Senga at full strength, and that's a lot to ask, Kodai Senga full strength, gets his 6 days rest in between starts, you're getting a guy who's pitched to a career 3 ERA over basically, we'll say, almost 2 full seasons, right? Because he had 29 starts in his rookie year, and then he made the All-Star team. Had 22 starts last year, so you want to say he missed 7, 8, 9 starts. Over almost 2 years, he's pitched to a 3 ERA. His contract is really good right now. He's making only $15 million per season. And if you're getting all-star level Kodai Senga, or if you're even getting number 2 level Kodai Senga, that's a pretty good deal for the Mets. I'm not looking to just dump him right away. I do love the idea of the Mets bringing in Tatsuya Imai. This is a flame-throwing guy who could come into this rotation, add to the young pitching with McLean, Sproat, Tong, Christian Scott's on his way back. You have guys in the minors like Santucci. Still got David Peterson. You got Clay Holmes in year 2, who I think is going to make a major jump to become that next level starter that the New York Mets have intended him to be. I'm excited about the future of the rotation. I think that there's a possibility we also add a Framar Valdez on a short-term deal, 4 to 5 years. I think there's a possibility the Mets are just waiting out the Tariq Scoobel sweepstakes and to just bring him in after the lockout because that's where it looks like we're kind of headed now. The Mets are interested in making long-term deals with pitchers, contrary to popular belief with David Stearns. So now we're going to go into I want to go into the latest report with John Heyman and the New York Mets. And just kind of, this is a great breakdown here by Fireside Mets. It's a great breakdown which shows you what Heyman spoke about. And I'm going to tell you a couple things that I've heard differently on when it comes to what these reports are from the breakdown. So this is John Heyman. He was on with Bleacher Report, the walk-off show. Let's go through a couple of these, and I'll tell you line by line which ones I believe, which ones I kind of think are being planted for people to kind of believe, but Scott Boras is using that John Heyman source to put out into the media. Number one, Mets are certainly interested in Tariq Scoobel, something we all know. A lot of teams are. Viewed as a logical fit alongside the Dodgers. I do believe the Dodgers and the Mets are the only two teams that are going to be in on Tariq Scoobel. The Mets have the farm system to acquire him, and obviously the Mets have the money to acquire him and extend him. The Dodgers seem to always have the farm system, and the Dodgers, as we know, definitely have the money to acquire him. Other than that, I don't see another team getting themselves involved in that bidding war. I think the Mets would wind up winning that bidding war because of the Dodgers pushing so much money downhill. They already have the back-to-back World Series. They're pretty much a dynasty anyway at this point. I think the Tariq Scoobel thing would be the cherry on top, and it could be overkill for the Dodgers, which I wouldn't blame them for doing. But I do think the Mets would win that kind of head-to-head against the Dodgers in the pursuit of Tariq Scoobel. Mason Miller is seen as a reliever that the Mets could really use. Obviously, John, we know that. That trade could still be in the mix. Jonah Tong headlining that kind of deal. I could easily see the Mets pulling that off. The Mets are not in on Kazuma Okamoto. This I don't believe. I don't care if the reports are that the Mets aren't speaking to him. I've seen reports that the Mets have spoken to him through Zoom. I'm not believing anything coming out when it comes to the Japanese players because I'm taking it with a grain of salt because we saw Murakami's market supposed to be over 150 million. He winds up getting a 2-year deal at 17 mil per season for his contract from the White Sox. Pitching remains top priority this offseason. I've been telling people that the Mets will add to this pitching staff. Guys, do not worry. I promise you the Mets are adding to this pitching staff, whether I said it's a Valdez, whether it's a trade for a Freddie Peralta or a Sandy Alcantara. It's going to be somebody that the Mets. Tatsuya Imai is a name the Mets like, though they value their young pitching depth. As we just spoke to before, Imai is a guy that could definitely be on the New York Mets. I could see the Phillies as a threat. I could see, don't count the Yankees out. I don't care about the reports that they didn't speak to him. That's a team that I could easily see adding him. Cashman likes to work very quietly, as do the Mets, so that's why I kind of think that's a possibility. Kyle Tucker pursuit is viewed as unlikely right now. I think that's completely false because I think his market is going to come down enough. It's already almost New Year's. I think Tucker's market's going to come down enough to where the New York Mets could possibly be in the mix for Tucker on possibly a 3-year, 4-year prove-it kind of deal with opt-outs. Austin Hayes is a guy that we spoke about. I would love him as a fourth outfielder, the right-handed pop off the bench. Mets prefer short-term deals for veterans like Framber Valdez, but would go longer for guys like Tariq Scoobel. This is stuff that we knew for the most part. This is just the updated list. And I want to go back to a couple of things that John Heyman touched on during that report with the Bleacher Report. The Tariq Scoobel stuff, like I said, it's going to be the Mets and the Dodgers. I don't think another team will get involved in the bidding war for Tariq Scoobel. The Mets have the farm system and the means to acquire Tariq Scoobel. That's 2 for 2. The Dodgers have the farm system and the money to acquire Tariq Scoobel. That's 2 for 2. Not every team has both of those things. One team might have one team might have the other, but the Mets and the Dodgers are the only two teams that could give you the best prospects and the most money. That's just Scott Boras playing the game amongst two of the biggest heavy hitters in Major League Baseball. When I say heavy hitters, I don't mean the Mets are winners. I just mean the way Steve Cohen approaches things. They are going to be willing to give a guy like Scoobel a long-term deal. In terms of Framber Valdez, I still think that's completely realistic. His market's not going to go to 5, 6, 7 years. His market might come down to 3, prove-it deal, 4-year deal, opt-outs. Kyle Tucker is a guy that I think could still 100% be in the mix for the Mets because I think his market took a little bit of a hit. I don't think he's getting 9, 10, 11, 12 years as a lot of people predicted a couple of years ago. Tucker's market comes down to 3. You get them for 3 years, 90 mil, maybe an opt-out after year 1. Let Kyle Tucker hit the free agent market again, probably post-lockout, or you give him the 2-year deal Let him opt out after the lockout, have a full season, see what happens there. I think guys like Sandy Alcantara and I think guys like Freddie Peralta are still 100% in the mix. Don't count out Mason Miller with the New York Mets. A lot of those hot rumors a couple of weeks ago, they don't just go away. Things have been discussed. You have to start an outline for discussions when it comes to these trades. Trades aren't agreed upon within 25, 30 minutes, contrary to a lot of people's belief. It takes a lot of time, a lot of moving parts to get these trades done. David Stearns is not stupid. He's going to acquire pitching. Pitching. 82, 83% of the free agent market is still available. David Stearns knows this. Steve Cohen knows this. Everybody on the Mets know this. They're not going to bid against themselves just to make the fan base happy and shut them up for 5 minutes. They're going to get the best deals possible, including guys like Valdez. If they bring him in, it's not going to be on a 6-7 year deal. I don't think he's getting a 6-7 year deal from anybody. The Blue Jays blew up the market signing Dylan Cease to that deal. Mets fans would have been pissed if he signed that deal with the Mets. So these are the latest updates from the New York Mets, from John Heyman, from Fireside Mets. Thank you for that information. I think the Mets wind up with a couple of these guys. I really do. I think they're going to let the market come back down to them. I think they're going to bring these guys in on serviceable contracts and that make both sides winners, where they can opt out possibly after next year. And the Mets don't lock into these long-term deals, having guys into their late 30s that could break down very, very easily. So I'm liking where this offseason is headed. I don't mind. I have patience. I know a lot of Mets fans don't. I have patience with this team. I have patience with David Stearns. They're going to add to this team, guys. Have patience. If you got this far, you got a lot of patience. Like, share, subscribe, please. Let me know if you guys want me to get into daily Mets content, including a lot of these rumors. Thank you guys for watching. Much appreciated.